Everybody, oh, you beautiful people out there in the world who are watching me, Anthony Brogdon, on Strong Inspirations. Oh my God, I got a lady on the channel that's gonna put it on you for sure. Blow your mind. I can't, oh man, I keep saying, because I have talked to this lady a few times, and every time we talk, I come back a better person. I know you will too, my friend. She is committed to sharing Black history and to her culture and to the community at large and helping others. And in return, she gets it back tenfold. And you know how that story goes.
Amen.
This is how we do at Strong Inspirations. Hit the subscribe button on the channel. Hit the like button on this video because you're going to love it. There is no love button, but there is a like button. But I know you're going to love it. Hit the notifications bell for when the videos come up. And I'm doing 6 or 7, no, not that many, maybe about 5, 6 a week. Did you see the one I put up with the guy who was sleeping in the slave cabin? He showed where that guy Adam slept. Watch that video. Did you see the ones I put up? There's 2 of them where we talk about healthy eating and food that came from Africa, that came through the Caribbean, around that diaspora into America. Watch that video. And my man, one of them says, hey man, I ain't trying to tell people don't eat pork, but there are things about it that is not good for you. Just saying. And then people say, oh man, all in moderation. Okay, you can moderate all you want to. No one's saying you don't. But just, watch the video. Did you see the one I put up with the lady who talks about what Black women have gone through since Africa? Because y'all so beautiful, what them enslavers did? Watch that video. Oh, I got them on here for you. I'm even doing little video shorts now when I run into somebody, and I did a couple of them on this Juneteenth celebration with some people who hosted Juneteenth events. All of them were very successful events. They had people come out and they showed love among themselves. If you didn't get nothing else out of Juneteenth, love another person.
Amen.
And they talked about that and why they did it. Watch those videos. I'm going to keep giving it to you. And you know how I do, my friends. I give it to you straight, no chaser. If you want a lime, a lemon, some ice cube, if you don't want nothing in it, I give it to you. I'll make it how you like it to intoxicate your mind with Black history. And we coming from all angles, my friend. And you're going to love what this sister got to share with you. You're going to love, oh man, I'm telling you. But there's only a like button on the thing, so hit the like button. Now, I got a movie out. I don't have the DVD or the book with me just at this moment, but go to my website. I got a movie out called Business in the Black, The Rise of Black Business in America. I didn't know that there were slaves who owned businesses. And when I found that out, I said, I got to put this out to America, because if I don't know, there might be some others. So I made a movie about it, a documentary, Business in the Black. It's streaming on Amazon. Type Business in the Black, type by Anthony Brogdon, and boom, there it is. And then I took it another step and I wrote a book on that same topic titled Black Business Book. It's got over 200 facts, amazing stories, all the ways slaves gained their freedom. Watch it. And I list some of the unique freedom seekers, like Frederick Douglass and what he did. The guy who mailed himself in a box. Can you imagine that? He got a crate. He got in the crate. The crate went upside down at one point where he almost died. The Lord stepped in, turned the box upside right, and he made it to freedom. Or Another one is the two people, they were married. She was light skinned, he was dark skinned. She dressed him up like her slave and made it to freedom. All that's in my book. So get you a copy of the book. Please do it, my friends. Now, you hear me use this term strong a lot. It's my favorite word. It's the title of my show, Strong Inspirations. And in my world, strong stands for strength, tenacity, resilience, and a sense of oneness, nobility, and grace. And that defines my guest today. She's a strong soul sister. Come on and introduce yourself. Let's get it on. I'm super excited.
Well, my name is Anita Singleton-Preacher, but most folks know me as Aunt Pearlie Sue. I'm a color storyteller, historian, and scholar, educator by trade. And what we do, my group is called Gullah Kinfolk Traveling Theater. And what we do is we bring Gullah Geechee history alive through musical theater and all things Gullah. I have several businesses. One is ASE, Gullah Education LLC. And I do a lot of work in the schools. I do work with teachers, educators, showing them how to integrate Gullah Geechee history through the arts across the curriculum. I do a lot of consultant work, going to get ready to do a little more of that, working with different Gullah Geechee communities, showing them how to preserve the culture, the Gullah Geechee culture, and at the same time bring economic development to the areas. So that's my heart. Young people, always my foundation. I work from, like I said, the school districts. I taught for about 15 years. Middle school was my favorite, eighth graders. And then I work in prison schools as well. Go in on a Monday, and by Friday, those students are putting on a Broadway caliber production about history. And so, and what we do is we use music and history and arts to reach those students that people seem to have difficulties, the most challenged ones. And those are the ones that need the more creative teachers and the more dedicated educators. And so I get to educate. I don't have to worry about lesson plans. I don't have to worry about meetings, after school meetings or lunch duties. I just go and do what I love to do, and that's teach.
I love it. Let me ask you this, and I do this with all my guests. I understandably, I ask a couple questions about you, so that my people get to know. As you said, your background. Where were you born?
Beaufort, South Carolina, known as the Queen of the Sea Islands.
Okay.
Beaufort, and a lot of people don't know, Beaufort is where, we often hear about Jamestown, Virginia being the starting of what we consider America today, but it actually started here in Beaufort 40 years before there was a Jamestown, Virginia. There was Santa Helena. If you're familiar with the Paris Island Recruit Depot, anybody who Marines on the East Coast, Paris Island Marine Recruit Depot is where Santa Helena was started and established. And like I said, it was there 40 years before there was a Jamestown, Virginia. So America, as we know it, began right here in Beaufort, South Carolina.
Hold on. Don't forget that thought, but I want to stay on you while I'm, got my train. Well, where did your, what's Beaufort like? I mean, what was it like for you growing up there? Is it a small town, a big town?
It's a small town. We're a beach town. We're a seacoast town. It's completely surrounded by water. In fact, Beaufort proper is a peninsula. You can't really go anywhere more than maybe a half mile to a mile without running into some kind of body of water. So if you don't like water, Beaufort ain't the place to come. We're the if you've heard of Hilton Head Island, Hilton Head is the southern part of Beaufort County. We're in the northern part of Beaufort County. And all of that, Beaufort County is made up of a barrier islands and sea islands. So
now let me ask you this. When you were in grade school, were there white kids or just Black kids that you attended school with?
Well, kindergarten through second grade was all Black. And I had a very strong, the thing about us, and I love my parents, my grandmother, even my kindergarten teacher, they did not allow us to make excuses for anything. And what I mean by that, even racism was not an excuse not to excel. My grandmother, who was really my mentor, if you saw the movie The Help, I could not identify with that because that was not my grandmother. Now, if you see Madea, that's my grandma. Tyler Perry plays a Madea. My grandmother was the real Madea.
Yeah, I got you.
Carried a pistol and a pocketbook, was in charge. Even where she worked, she was truly head Negro in charge. She didn't call anybody, and I'm talking about over 60 years ago, didn't call anybody Miss Nobody. It was Helen and Winnie, get out my kitchen. Don't you open that oven and make my cake fall. Get on out here, I'll tell you when the food ready. And they say, yes, Rosa, big, beautiful antebellum house. But my grandmother was definitely in charge. And so that's the mentor I had growing up. My father, the same way. My father was a second generation college graduate. My grandfather,
right?
Yeah, my grandfather was born, his father was born in 1875, only 10 years out of slavery.
Yeah.
And my grandfather was a landowner. He bought property. He was the first one that they sent off of that plantation, Cherokee Plantation of Colleton County, which is just north of Beaufort County. He was the first one that they sent off to be formally educated. So he was in the first.
Hold on, you jamming right there. They sent him off. What do you mean by that?
They sent him off to South Carolina State University. He was in the first graduating class of South Carolina State University.
Well, who sent him? The family or the
the white family, the Daniels and the Codes, right? And he came back.
Hold on. Yeah. I don't mean no disrespect.
No disrespect.
His enslavers, when he got his freedom, they sent him to college.
He was born free. He was born December. He was born 10 years out of slavery.
Right.
Now, his parents were born enslaved.
Right.
But he was born 10 years after slavery had ended.
Right. And who sent him to college?
They sent him to college. And yeah. He was taught to read and write on the plantation, and they sent him off to college, to South Carolina State University. Well, it's South Carolina State University now, but at that time it was just South Carolina State. And he came back and he started a school there in Colleton County on Cherokee Plantation.
On the plantation, he started.
On the plantation. And then he came across the river, the Combahee River, out of Colleton County. And he bought property in Beaufort County. And he started a school there. And his oldest daughter, my aunt, who was also a graduate, a second generation graduate of South Carolina State, she came back and she ran the school in Beaufort County, and he ran the school in Colleton County.
Who went to the school? Like I said, who were the students at the school?
The different newly freed. Some of the people were descendants of people who had just was a generation ahead of them that was enslaved. And so, right? Yeah. He was known as Cutting Edge. Huh?
Are there historical markers to the school?
No, but that might be. In fact, you saying that gives me a new assignment.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I need to talk to my aunt, my cousin, who's really the historian of the family on that side. Okay. But yeah. Okay.
Let me ask you. Go ahead.
And he bought property, unlike a lot of places, a lot of newly freed Africans became, sharecroppers. We weren't sharecroppers here. We were landowners. And we were landowners even during the Civil War, in the midst of the Civil War, because we were some of the first Blacks to be freed in Beaufort County. The war started April 12th, 1861. And 7 months right after it started on November 7th, 1861, all the Blacks in Beaufort County were free. That was, we called that, the Black folks called it the day when big gun doesn't shoot. That's what the colored folks called it at the time. Talking about the big guns that were on the side of those Union ships that came from Washington, D.C. down to Beaufort County, between Hilton Head and Bluffton Islands in the southern part of Beaufort County. Because what we have here is a body that our Port Royal Sound is the second deepest natural harbor in the United States, only second to New York City. And it was sort of like the, I guess, I-95, I-20, I-77, whatever, major thoroughway for the Union troops to get to the heart of the Confederacy, which was Charleston. So the Confederacy had set up two Confederate forts on the side of that body of water. And on the Hilton Head side was called Fort Walk, and on the other side was Fort Beauregard. And so when those Union ships arrived early that morning on November 7th, they did a elliptical pattern. And what they would do, they would bomb, reload, boom, reload, boom, boom, reload. And after 4.5 hours, those Confederate soldiers said, Lord, they about to kill us up. And yeah, what is us gonna do? Well, all the Confederate soldiers skedaddled right on up out of here. So that same day of November 7th, 1861, white folks call it the day of the Great Skedaddle because all the white people in Beaufort County skedaddled up out of here, except for one. And his last name was Morgan. He was drunk as a skunk, and they left him down at the waterfront in downtown Beaufort. So we were free. Right at the beginning of the
I love it. Let me ask you, let's go down. I'm gonna stay on your on that little bit, just on your family, just a little bit more. So for him to do that, he was a nice guy, or they liked him.
You talking about my grandfather?
Yes.
You talking about going back to my grandfather?
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't answer that.
Yeah.
But he was a smart guy, I can tell you that. And because like I said, not only did he get himself educated, but he sent my dad and my uncle, both of them graduated from Tuskegee, and my aunt graduated from South Carolina State. His other sons went in the military. My Uncle Jack was in the Army. My dad was in the Navy. Uncle Sammy died in the Korean conflict. And so, yeah. And like I said, he was a businessman, because when he bought property over here in Beaufort County, he also had a farming business. So his property was only about a mile away from the railroad track. So he would go down to the railroad track in Seabrook and ship fresh vegetables to New York and Philadelphia, DC, Chicago. Yeah, so he was a businessman, he was an educator, landowner.
So let me ask you this:
single parent.
Because he was so dynamic, did the white folks get mad at him and try to jam him up?
No.
You know what I mean? They run him off his property, take his land, and they didn't try that either.
Not that I've heard. I've never heard anything like that.
Yeah, no lynchings or nothing like that.
Nope.
Okay. So now going back to you, you said you had the first and second grade all black, and then what happened? You went to another school?
Well, my parents were very involved in the civil rights movement. In fact, this house that I live in is the house that I grew up in up until third grade, and then my parents built another home. But a lot of the meetings were held right here. I don't know if you ever heard of Pat Conroy, who wrote The Great Santini Beach and all that kind of stuff. Pat at The Waters Wide. Conrad, he was the young white liberal that they fired. Beaufort County tried to fire the school district because upset because he was so involved in the civil rights movement. So they sent him to this island that you had to, which is part of Beaufort County as well, the Fusky Island. And you had to go by boat, and they thought they were sending him there to kind of punish him. But again, he flourished there, and those young people ended up being part of a movie that was called Conrad, The Waters Wide. And that was his when they fired him, I guess that was sort of his doorway to fame. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
He's had several big movies. He passed a couple of years ago, but yeah.
I love it. So now in your county though, where are the white people? Where did the black people live? One on one side of the railroad tracks type thing?
You know what? Beaufort is sort of unique because like I said, after when in November, let's back up to November 7th, 1861.
Okay.
That was the beginning of Reconstruction as we know it.
Yeah.
Beaufort became sort of, in the movie The Black Panther, Wakanda was a utopia of Africa. And so Beaufort actually became a utopia November 7th, 1861 for Blacks, because here we are, Beaufort County, right in the middle, just across the Savannah River, Savannah, Georgia, which is a Confederate stronghold. Yeah. Just north of us, like I said, Combahee River is Colleton County, a Confederate stronghold. I mean, in any direction you went, we were completely surrounded by the Confederacy, because Beaufort is where the Civil War started on paper. The Articles of Succession was first drafted here in downtown Beaufort.
Really?
Yes, 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 yes. So it's ironic that we would be the first set of people to be freed in masses. So when that day a big gun done shoot, when the masters realized that their Confederate troops had evacuated, had left, they realized they had no protection. So guess what? They got on their buggies and they had steamboats that were waiting downtown Beaufort. They loaded up on those steamboats and they skedaddled up out of here. So we were here. We weren't going nowhere. Talk about come on here, your boy, and take me. You drive your own self. Okay. We ain't going nowhere. And so here we were left with all this master's jewelry, his clothes, his
really?
Everything was left. He could only take but so much with him.
Exactly.
So all that was left. And so by the time 2 days later, when those Union ships finally made their way from Bluffton and Hilton Head, coming into downtown Beaufort, it was November 9th. And they said the Africans were lined up on the waterfront, dressed up in the master's fine clothes, that fine frock that I had made for Missy for the New Year's Eve ball. Couldn't fit nothing by my arm, but I had it on. I was waiting, said, come on, you Yankee boys, I got something for you. And so we were free. So all of that cotton and whatever was left in the fields, now where we were working for free, now the Union, the North, was paying us to harvest that valuable crop out of the fields. That property, all the property that the masters left, that they didn't pay taxes on, now we have money to purchase. And we bought those properties. Those plantations were divided up. And so those Africans were able to buy the very same land that they were enslaved on. Now they became landowners. So that's why I said we weren't sharecroppers here. We were landowners.
I love it. Oh man. Okay. But again, but the white people came back.
They came back, but when they came back, they did not have
come back.
Right, they did. Right, when they came back, we maintained a lot of that property, and so some of it they were able to get back, but a lot of it they didn't get back, because we continue to, even to this day, still hold on to some of that property that was purchased during that time of Reconstruction.
Is there somebody, a white person who was big in the Confederate Army out of Beaufort that was a notorious racist or anything like that?
Oh, I'm sure they had plenty of them, but who cares?
It's not a name. It's not like General Lee.
You had John Barnwell, he was known as the father of the secession movement. You had Henry McKee and John McKee, who were former masters of Robert Smalls, who became the first Black hero of the Civil War.
Yeah.
So and Robert Smalls himself turned around and bought his master's mansion on New Street.
Yeah.
He was born right in the back in the little hut. His mother was Lydia Polite, and she was the servant. He and his mother both were owned by the McKees.
Okay.
And here now in 1862, he's in Charleston. And by this time he's 23 years old, because his mother had Mr. McKee to send him there at 12, because his playmates were little white boys. And the law was that if you were Black, colored, quote unquote colored folks, you had to be in before dark. Well, Robert didn't pay any attention to that. So, he was constantly being taken down to the jailhouse. And his mother was so afraid. She was so afraid that he did not understand the perimeter of being an enslaved person, and that his disobedience was going to get him really into big trouble. She had taken him to a slave auction. She took him to a whipping so that he could understand, but that just made Robert even more determined that freedom was going to be what he strived for. And so by the time he was 12, he ended up being sent to Charleston. He got to Charleston, he worked at the Planters Inn, which was a big fancy restaurant hotel for rich folks. And he was a lamp lighter. So he would, the street lamps, he would light those. But his eyes was always on the water. He always loved the water. And so by the time he was 16, he started working at the wharf. Well, when he was 16, he was spotted by Hannah Jones. Hannah was about 30 years old. She had a daughter that was 14 and 12. She spotted Robert. She said, and cougar spirit came out of Hannah. And by the time he was 17, they were married.
And she was much older or something?
Yeah, she was 30 when she saw him. And so he was 16 and she was 30. She had a 14-year-old and 12-year-old, and he was 16. So that ought to tell you.
Yeah.
So, but he was a brilliant young man. He was so mature even at that age. And at 17, they got married, and he negotiated with his master and her master for them to live together, even though they were from two different masters. Now, mind you, his mother is here in Beaufort, and he's in Charleston. And so by the time he's 23, he's now working on this Confederate gunboat called the Planter. And he was so brilliant and so skilled at, I guess they call it piloting the boat, but they wouldn't call a black man a pilot. They call him a wheel boy. Right? You can call him what he want. You know what he know. Didn't make no difference.
Right.
And so here he was learning all, he knew the tides. He knew where the landmines were in the Charleston Harbor, because they were the ones, he and the black crew members were the ones that were given the order to put those landmines in the water.
Right.
And one of the number one strategies of the Union was the naval blockade, because the South was an agricultural area. So the only way we got, other manufactured goods was through the North. Right. And so now that we're at odds with the North, then the only way they could get it was foreign ships. So that was why the Union set up that Navy blockade around the perimeter of the Charleston Harbor. Right. So Robert could see, he said, if I could just get to those Union Navy ships, then I'll be free. Right. He'd already started talking to Hannah's master about purchasing the freedom of his son, his child, and Hannah's children, and Hannah. And the amount was $800. He'd saved up, he and Hannah had saved up $100, because even with them working, they had to, send their monies, basically give most of their monies to the masters. Right. One of his crew members started talking about, what if we steal this ship? That's right. We sell the freedom. And Robert just told him, just hush, just be quiet. Not that he wasn't thinking about it, just say quiet. And what he did, he had stashed about 3 days of provision in the bottom of the boat. And that particular day on May 12th, he and the black crew members had been given the order to, load up the Planter with ammunition, because the next day they were supposed to go out to the different Confederate forts around the Charleston Harbor and re-fortify them with ammunition. Mm-hmm. Well, when the captain and the white crew member decided they weren't going to leave no guard on the boat, Robert said, tonight. He said, tonight is the night. So he went home, he told Hannah, he said, listen, Hannah, baby, we've decided that we're going to steal the Planter. It's loaded down with ammunition. And we've decided that if we're caught, we're going to blow it up along with ourselves. And it's too dangerous for you and the children. But I tell you what, when I get the freedom, I'll figure out a way to come and get you. Well, Hannah put her hands on the hip. When a black woman put her hand on the hip. Yeah. Sure. And she said, you ain't leaving me here. Where you go, I go. Sure. And so what they did is so early that next morning, on May 13th, about 3 o'clock in the morning, Robert had his wife and children and the other children and wives of the other black crew members to wait upriver a little bit. Yeah, that's right. And he got on, and he put on the captain's jacket and captain's straw hat, and he, mimicked the captain's mannerisms and that kind of stuff. And he knew the signal. It's so ironic that they didn't think as many times as Robert and Nose went up and down, they weren't gonna figure out what the signal was to get the wave to pass on, but they did. And sometimes we worry as Black people, we worry about people, whether or not they know we intelligent. Sometimes people thinking you're dumb is to your advantage.
That's right. That's right.
Just be quiet. It's okay. As long as you know who you are.
That's right.
You know what you know. It doesn't matter whether they respect who you are. It don't matter. See, we keep putting too much emphasis on other people respecting us and other people valuing who we are. We got to know that we're great, regardless of whether we get validation from white folks, Black folks, anybody else.
That's right.
And so Robert knew who he was.
Yeah. And
so he did the two long whistles and a short one. That was the signal. And they got past. And when he got to the last one, which was Fort Sumter, Dave was breaking, and the white sentry looked down. He said, "Well, now I see the Black crew member. Well, where the white folks?" And when he realized that them boys about to keep this boat and started firing on Robert. Remember, the cannons could only go in one direction. Robert was so skilled. What he did is he pulled that planter right up against the wall of Fort Sumter, so that when they started firing, it just went over his head, because the boat, it couldn't go down like this to shoot him. Now, and mind you, don't forget that it's loaded with ammunition. That means one good bump, and all of us would have had black beam suits. Yes. He was so skilled. And so by the time he got to the edge of Fort Sumter, he gave the command full steam ahead. And they went blah, 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 heading straight in toward the Union blockade. But Robert forgot one little thing. He forgot he still had that Confederate flag flying. But his wife, Hannah, being the wise woman she was, had packed the white sheet, even though he was asking her, "Well, why are you packing?" She said, "Just in case, Robert. You just never know. If we don't need it, fine, but if we need it, we'll have it." And so she bought that, she packed that white sheet, and she was able to give him that white sheet, they said. And he was able to take down that Confederate flag and put that flag of surrender. And the Union ship halted their guns, because now he was caught between the South and the North.
Yeah, that's right.
Blow his little black tail right on up out of the water. But praise God for that white sheet.
That's right.
And so when that young captain got on board, it was unbelievable that here was all colored folks, Black folks, had gotten this planner. And not only was he able, and he said, Robert stepped up and said to him, "Please give this as an early gift, Christmas gift to Mr. Abraham Lincoln."
That's right.
So not only did they get the boat, the planter boat, which was perfect for shallow water around the harbors of South Carolina's coastline, all the ammunition, the Confederate secret code book, but even more valuable than all of that was the knowledge that Robert and his crew members had, because this was foreign country to the north. And so they needed somebody who knew the lay of the land. Robert knew where those landmines were in the water. Like I said earlier, he and his Black crew members were the ones that were given the order to put them in there. So the brilliance of this man, is just, we still can't even fathom all the things that this man did. We have public education today because of what he wrote when he became, one of the first things he did when he got into elected office was to write the first compulsory education act for the state of South Carolina that became the template for us to have public education today. A Black man, a former enslaved man who was illiterate most of his life, writes the compulsory education act.
I love it. I love it.
We have Paris Island Recruit Depot because of him. He was the one that negotiated with President Abe Lincoln. Let these Black folks come and fight for their freedom and pay them the same amount that you'll give the white Union soldiers. So he was a brilliant man. So when you look at the movie Black Panther, he is Black Panther.
That's right. Yeah, I love it. Thanks for telling that, because he's getting some recognition. I know I talk about him in my book and in my movie. And he's one of those people that is really, more will be told about him as hopefully this comes out, and other stories about about Robert Smalls. The last one on you in particular. When you were what age did you know all your parents and your grandparents talked to you and something clicked for you to be a loving Black history like you do, and then clicked into understanding your culture in Gullah Geechee?
My parents did not. My age, a lot of people were taught to be ashamed of being Gullah Geechee. That was not in my household at all. My aunts and my uncle and those spoke Gullah, and you had to sit and you had to listen for a few minutes before you could catch. And if we call ourselves trying to, because we were quote unquote, we lived in the city limits of big Beaufort. But I mean, you talking about a whip down, whip up, toe down, whatever, call ourselves teasing our cousins or my aunts or ridiculing them. That was not tolerated in this household. Even though both of my parents were college graduates, my mother was a school teacher, she was an educator. A lot of educators did not allow their children to play with any other children unless their parents were educators. That was not the case with us. We played with everybody. If we had something here, my daddy made sure we had to share. So that was instilled from as long as I can remember myself.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
What did they? I mean, do they tell you when you are Gullah? They tell you some Gullah things, or you just kind of pick it up by osmosis, by the code?
Well, I mean, it was just
whatever.
Well, you know, if you lived in the city limits of Beaufort, and the kids that lived on the island or the outskirts of I guess the rural areas of Beaufort, then, you know, all them folks talk all that bad talk. They talk that Geechee talk. That my parents wouldn't let us say that at all. At all. And my mother, you know, basically sort of gave you the idea that, and we switched. I mean, depending on who we're talking to, you know, sometimes you slow it up, sometimes you speed it up. By the time I went to school, I graduated from Howard University. Going up there, you know, people ask me, are you from the islands? And I would get so excited because I grew up on Ladies Island. Because like I said, all of Beaufort County is Barrier Islands and Sea Island. So you go from Boom Boom Island out. So I was excited. I said, yeah. They said, what island are you from? St. Croix, St. Thomas? I said, shut up. I ain't from no St. Croix, St. Thomas. I'm from Beaufort, South Carolina. So as soon as I said Beaufort, South Carolina, then the next thing, oh, she know roots. Well, I ain't know nothing but no roots. I'm thinking they talk about Alex Haley.
Yeah, right.
Okay. And I couldn't convince them that I didn't know anything about roots. But anyway, I could have been a rich woman coming out of Howard University because I could have sold them anything.
Yes.
But I was, you know, I'm Black and I'm proud, you know, like I said, my parents organized, you know, were part of the organizers of boycotts when we almost bankrupt downtown Beaufort because they didn't have any Black cashiers. You know, I can remember being in 4th grade, it was Christmas Eve night. And my mother got us downtown, my dad and them got us downtown boycott. And all I could think about is Santa Claus gonna know where to find me.
Yeah.
So, you know, we didn't have a choice. You know,
let me ask you this. Don't mean to interrupt. When you say Gullah Geechee, and I got other videos on the channel and people explain it, what do you call that? What is it's a culture? It's a heritage? What is Gullah Geechee?
This is my definition. It is the blending of all of those cultures that came together during that horrible time in our history called the transatlantic slave trade. The different African countries, especially West African countries, rice producing West African countries, and all of that technology and all of that heritage blended with that of the different Europeans that became the masters of the planet. We were the skilled labor. And then you got the Native Americans that were already here. So it's the blending of those 3 large ethnic groups that came together, the Africans, Europeans, and the Native Americans, blended together with all those different traditions and customs that came together. It was a culture of survival. And what I try to remind people, we didn't come here as ignorant people. We came here multilingual because most Africans spoke their tribal language, their neighboring tribal, and whoever they were trading with. We were sailing the seven seas long before Columbus got lost, you know, and he discovered somebody else's house, you know, so all of that. And so it's the blending of all of that that came together.
Can you be
and it
Gullah
continues to evolve to even this day.
Excuse me, can a person be Gullah is it only really defined by being a part of that Gullah corridor, that territory? Or could a person be Gullah and they grew up in their family and their, you know, because when they got to America and ended up in Connecticut and New York?
That's right. And that's one of the misnomers, because I hate it when people think, well, if you ain't from right here, or you ain't from St. Helena, or you ain't from, then you ain't Gullah. That's not true, because we don't know where we ended up, whether it was the northern migration, whether we escaped the plantation, whether we bought our own freedom, whether the masters gave us our freedom, whether the war ended, whatever. But wherever we went, we took that culture with us. So this thing of, if you ain't from here, then you ain't this. That's not true. French people come from France and they move here. It's still French.
What is the official Gullah Geechee corridor? It extends from where to Florida, that kind of thing.
They say from North Carolina, Jacksonville, North Carolina, all the way down the coast. So you got North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, and some say 35 miles in it, some say 50 miles in it. Is considered the Gullah Geechee corridor, and what that is saying, that we were able to maintain a lot more of the Africanisms that we brought here from West Africa and those African countries than some of the other places, because we were concentrated in that area. But again, like I said, when we migrated to New York, Philadelphia, Chicago, California, whatever, even their Gullah-speaking people, Gullah-speaking communities in Oklahoma, they were known as the Freemen, and they went out there with the trails of tails. There were Texas groups of Gullah-speaking people. There are Black Mexicans that are Gullah-speaking people.
Oh, really?
That didn't even know that other Gullah-speaking people existed. You have those that were part of during the Revolutionary War, when the Loyalists fled America and went to the Caicos and Turk Islands. And then once the war was over, wanted to come back. Well, them Africans said, we ain't going back. You carry your hip back, we ain't going back. We said, so you have those pockets of people. Trinidad, Barbados, you know, Nova Scotia. So we cannot say it's just right here.
Yeah, I love it. As a Gullah heritage person, are there certain traditions, you know, like you do something special on Sunday? Is there are they mostly Catholic or Christian or any of those kind of things?
Well, you know, a little mixture of all. You had the AME, you know, like Mother Emanuel, AME Church, the Baptist. I grew up in First African Baptist Church. Robert Smalls was one of the founding members of that church. And later he was buried at Tabernacle Baptist Church. Tubman lived here for 3 years in Beaufort County. She came down 1863, and on June 2nd, 1863, she helped to free between 750 plus Africans from Colleton County, just across the river. Because like I said, over here in Beaufort County, we were already free, but we could look right across the river and still see our loved ones enslaved. And she made her way all the way from St. Catherine's Parish in Canada, because she had, by this time, she had a bounty over her head. And her friend, who was Colonel James Montgomery, who was over the U.S. colored troops here in Beaufort County, sent for her. He said, I don't know what to do with all these colored people. I can't even understand their language. Please come help me. I'm gonna have it. So she made her way. And mind you, now she was having blackouts and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, only the Spirit of God could have led her here, because she'd never been to South Carolina. And, you know, they talked about her, you know, those other 19 trips back and forth, and she freed like 300. But in that one day, she helped to free over 750. First time in military history, a woman, Black or white, led a military expedition during wartime. And that was Harriet Tubman. So if you saw her moving that last scene where she's in the front standing in the front of that boat, that's that scene of the Combahee River raid. And that was the Confederate over in Colleton County where she did that, was a Confederate stronghold. Just a mile away from where those people got on those boats was the campground for the Confederate soldiers. So they were totally embarrassed that this little old woman, right up underneath their nose, stole almost 1,000 of their enslaved Africans, and not one drop of Black blood was lost, and not one drop of Union blood was lost. And the soldiers that were on the Union ship, on those 3 Union boats, were U.S. colored troops. The white person was James Montgomery.
Oh my God. Well, wealth of knowledge. Okay, we're gonna, I mean, because of timing and stuff like that, just a couple more. What is a normal, and I'm really flipping the script here in this question. What's a normal, what do you eat? Do you eat a lot of rice, a lot of fish?
A lot of rice, a lot of seafood, a lot of vegetables, you know. Really, growing up, very seldom anybody bought any fish or any seafood out of the stores, because everybody caught this. My grandmother, she decided, like, where she worked, like I said, she lived on Washington Street, and her job was about maybe 4 blocks down from her house on Washington Street, and it was right on the water. And so while she put her roast in the oven, she'd go outside and she'd throw her crab lines, which was a chicken net in a sinker, on a piece of string, and she'd throw it out there. And while she waited for her food in the oven to cook, she'd be crabbing. And
Wow.
she'd get her crab, and then she'd go inside and she'd put them on the ball. And while she waiting, finishing up the rest of the dinner for the family she worked for, she'd pick her crab meat out. And then when she finished, she'd leave there at 3 o'clock. She'd come on home, and that at 5 o'clock, that would be dinner for us.
I love
whether
it.
it be crab and grits or crab cakes or whatever. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we're gonna stay on this just a little bit, Tad, just for my viewers and stuff. I hear catfish might not be good for you because they eat at the bottom of the water and they eat everything. Are there some fish? Is crab known to be good for you?
Well, listen, back then we ain't worried about it. We ate it and it was good enough. so you know what? Listen, if you breathe, it ain't good for you.
Yeah.
If you hold your breath, that'll kill you.
Yeah.
If you eat this, that'll kill you. If you eat that, that'll kill you. So I don't know what to tell folks to eat.
Okay.
My granddaughter now, she's vegetarian, vegan, and so she tell me everything I eat ain't I can't even eat broccoli. Don't eat corn, grandma. I'm like, okay. So anyway,
what about, you eat a lot of okra?
Well, I don't like okra like that, but a lot of folks eat okra. Is one of the things that we brought from Africa. Yeah,
that's
they
right.
eat a lot of okra here. Fried okra, okra with lima beans, okra and gumbo. Just okra with some onions and fried in some folks, I guess, margarine now, whatever you're gonna use. But back then, my grandmother put a piece of fat back and some bacon, and she'd put some onions in there and throw that okra in there, and then a pot of rice, and you have a stomach full. Yeah. Always something to feed somebody with.
I got you. What about this
now,
one?
Folks, starvation will kill you. So, sometimes you have to decide whether or not you're going to do point or starvation. So
that's right. Well, what about this one? You just participated and hosted the Gullah Geechee Festival. For people, who are watching this, tell us a little bit about the festival and how they can attend next year. Mm-hmm. Are there others in the area that they can attend? So on and so forth.
Sure. Well, about 36 years ago, some folks were sitting around reminiscing about the old-fashioned Decoration Day. Decoration Day is the name we used to call Memorial Day. It was started by newly freed Africans right at the end of the Civil War. The war ended April 9th, 1865. And the U.S. colored troops, the 2nd Infantry, came through Charleston. By this time, Charleston is evacuated. All the white folks are gone except for the abolitionists, a few white abolitionists, and the Black folks. And then now had come the U.S. colored troops come through. And they realized that some of their comrades had died in a Confederate prison camp that used to be an old racetrack where the rich aristocrats used to boast their wealth. And they were buried in a mass grave. And so they dug up all 257 of those bodies and reinterred them into individual graves. Took them 2 weeks to do that. And at the end of that 2 weeks, on May 1st, 1865, they did the first commemoration that later became Memorial Day as we know it today. They called it Decoration Day because they decorated the graves with flags and flowers and shells. Mm. They said they had about 10,000 participants in the parade, and about 4,000 almost was children. And what they did is they marched around that racetrack where they had buried those 257 soldiers. They had speeches and horse races and picnics. And later that same celebration was moved to Beaufort, which is 60 miles south of Charleston, because we had the first national cemetery in South Carolina. President Abe Lincoln himself designated the 29 acres in Beaufort province as the final resting place for those who fought to preserve the Union. So that was the U.S. colored troops and the white Union soldiers. He allowed 100, and I think it was like 120 something Confederate soldiers to be buried there who had died in Florida. And so when you come to that, you have a section that's a Confederate section of it. When you come in there, you see USCT, that stands for United States Colored Troops. It's in the shape of half of a wagon wheel. So the hub of the wheel is where the flag is, and those different lanes would be the spokes of the wagon wheel.
I love it.
So you come, so all of that, I said all of that to say this, that's how Gullah Festival started, folks reminiscing about the old-fashioned Decoration Day, because when that festival moved to Beaufort, it became one of the largest festival celebrations in the United States. I don't know where the white folks went on Decoration Day, because I didn't see any growing up, but it was, you literally could not drive the streets because that's how many Black folks would be here. If you had moved away to New York or Philadelphia, you had to come home for Decoration Day because that's part of our African heritage.
I love it.
Honoring the deceased. We didn't really celebrate 4th of July. That wasn't a big deal for us growing up, but Decoration Day was huge. It died down because the powers that be, white lawmakers started outlawing. One of the things that would always come about 2 weeks before Decoration Day was the carnival. And so they started making all these restrictions. You know how this stuff systematically happens. And the celebration died down. And so as people were reminiscing about it, this young lady who had moved here from Ohio, she was born in Dayton, Ohio, Middletown, and grew up in Dayton, Ohio, moved here. And she said, well, what happened? So they were telling them, and she came and she started talking about, well, what can we come up with that will help to recreate that atmosphere of celebration? And so they came up with the idea of doing this festival, and they called it the Gullah Festival. And so that's why it's always Memorial Day weekend to commemorate, the old-fashioned Decoration Day. And one of the things we do is the Gullah Traveling Theater. We bring that history alive for musical theater. So we have a full stage musical called Decoration Day, so that we can take you back in time, back to Africa, right on up to the end of the Civil War, and right up to 1955, and to the juke joint.
Yes, I love it.
Silver Supper Club. And so we do that as part of Decoration Day. And if you didn't get a chance to come Memorial Day weekend, it's always, like I said, it's always Memorial Day weekend. So plan for 2023. Yeah. But in November, the second weekend in November, we have the Penn Heritage Day Festival.
Yes.
Penn School is the school that was founded in the middle of the Civil War in 1862 for newly freed Africans over on St. Helena Island. Yes. And they do the Penn Heritage Festival, and that's the second weekend in November. So that'd be November 11th and 12th.
Yeah.
And then if you can't come November, come on back for Sea Island Gullah Christmas celebration with our Pearly Soon Gullah Kinfolk. We have our full stage musical that we do called Gullah Kinfolk Christmas Wish, Freedom Coming. It's the last Christmas before the Civil War. And all that excitement we put on stage through musical theater. And then on Saturday, we have what we call a Taste of a Gullah Christmas. That's at our beautiful waterfront park with live entertainment, food vendors, crafts. We have a rice cook-off. So if you think you can cook some rice, come on, because that's why they came and got us, because we were masters of rice cultivation. And so all of that history is put on stage. And then in the whole month of February over on Hilton Head Island, we have the Native Islanders Gullah celebration. So it's the whole month on Hilton Head. So if you
Oh,
want to find some good prices for some rooms on Hilton Head and it's
yeah,
not too hot, you
yeah,
can come in February. So
yeah,
we have a lot for you to
yeah. Have a
learn.
lot doing. Yeah,
Right. And
yeah,
we
yeah.
just want people to know we are Gullah 365 and a fourth day.
I
So if
love
you
it.
come and you let us know you're coming, we'll plan some special events just for your group. We can
That's right.
customize.
Yeah, I
We can
love it.
customize it. And you have to make sure that you go by Penn Center, Penn School. You want to go by the Gullah Geechee Visitor Center, like Benson's, over there on St. Helena Island. We have so much for you to come and see. This is your culture. It's not our Pearly Sioux. Doesn't belong to Black folks. It belongs to all of us. It
I
is
love it.
Gullah is multiculturalism 101. It's all of us coming
I
together
love
and
it.
finding out who we are as a people.
I got two more questions right quick. Do you all recognize, and I know you do in some respects, Juneteenth, or do you recognize another day as the Emancipation Day?
Yeah, see, for us, Emancipation Day for us, like I said, November
Yeah,
7th,
right,
1861, was
right.
our first emancipation. And then officially, January the 1st, 1863 was the first public reading of the Emancipation Proclamation was done here in Beaufort. You know, he
Okay.
wrote it September 22nd, 1862, but he didn't read it publicly until January the 1st, 1863. And the reason why Beaufort was selected, because we were already free. And he wanted, the question was, will they fight for their freedom? Can they be educated? Can they self-govern? All of that. And the answer was yes, 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 and yes.
Yes,
And all
sure.
of that happened right here in Beaufort County. So the first public reading of Emancipation Proclamation happened here, January the 1st, 1863.
One more. One more. Can you close us out with something that you want to say in Gullah dialect?
Sure.
All right.
Let me see. This is what I'll do. Me a Jesus calling, when I want for go. Me a Jesus calling, when I want for go. Me a Jesus calling, when I want for go. Oh, chillin', una bet for get ready. Jesus be coming back, una want for go. I hear Jesus calling. Do you want to go?
There you go.
Oh, children,
Everybody.
you better get ready.
Oh,
Jesus
my
is
God.
coming back. Do you want to go?
Do you want to go? Everybody hit the subscribe button on Strong Inspirations. Hit the like button. There is no love button, but hit the like button. Hit the notifications bell for when the videos come up. Tell somebody about Strong Inspirations. Don't keep it to yourself. And do you have a website or something like that
Yes.
people can
You
follow?
can go to www.gullahkinfolktravelingtheater.org.
Right.
www.gullahkinfolktravelingtheater.org. Our tickets will go on sale September the 1st for Gullah Kinfolk Christmas Wish Freedom Coming. And we're looking at possibly adding, we usually do Friday and Saturday, maybe adding a Thursday of a symposium of the Sierra Leone Gullah Geechee Connection Reunion. So please go to our website. We'll have that information up in the next couple of weeks when we solidify some things. So again, www.gullahkinfolktravelingtheater.org.
Everybody had to be in the description. Then I'll close on this. So to you, my sister, I say this with all sincerity, and I truly mean this. I'm super excited you come on. You have open door anytime you want to. Please keep that in mind. You name the day and time. And also I say this, I want you to stay strong, stay safe, stay on your grind.
Yes, Lord.
You an icon. I've only said that a few times, and I don't mean no disrespect to those who have, but y'all can feel it like I feel it. She's an icon. She was born in that family with a great grandfather who had special recognition, qualities, personalities, mind, who then took that to the level of graduating from college and becoming a minister and a very successful man. He passed that along, and all his brothers and sisters heard of this, and they did likewise. And then it went down through the generations. And it went through that Howard grad that we see before us. And she's keeping it alive. She's not letting it go. She didn't leave to do something else, but to stay there to be the pillar of the community. So please keep doing it. I'm gonna meet you one day soon.
Come on, December the 2nd. Come on and be our guest in December.
I want to do that, and I want to do that pen, because I've been to the Penn Center once.
Come on.
And I'm gonna do both of them. I got plane ticket money and bus money and all that.
Mhm.
I'm gonna come because I want to be a part of this. So with that, I'll say bye-bye. We out.
God
Thank
bless
you.
you.
All right.
God bless you. Love you.
Love you too.